Welcome to the Vector Garden. In this video, we're going to talk about transparency, and we're going to talk about some very particular settings. So let's go to the transparency panel, and then we have these two settings, isolate blending and knockout group. I'm going to demonstrate them in a minute. But then also we have page isolated blending and page knockout group. And these two we're going to discuss in this video. Let's first talk about knockout groups. You know that when you want to punch out this white so that you can see through it, through this blue shape to the background and what's behind it, what you can then do is select with the direct selection tool, because there are groups in this. Let's take a look at that. So these are all grouped, several elements for each of those nibs, and then you need to select those that have the white fill. That can also be done with select same, but I have just clicked here. So then you can go to the appearance panel, and then in the opacity for this white fill, just set this to 0. And then you can select all of this, group it, and then in here, turn on knockout group. And you see there's white behind. And this is not just white, but when we go to view and then to the transparency grid, then we see through to the background. But this needs to be grouped. Let's turn off that grid here. And this also works when we have this situation here. So this is a text, still editable, and I have already created 2 additional fills. So it's a black text, it has a red fill and a kind of golden fill, both of which are slightly offset with a transform effect. So this is just one object. And then the center one, we can also go to the opacity, set it to 0, and then it's already knocked out because, again, down here in the opacity setting for the complete object, knockout group is turned on. And again, this is a knockout. This works. And also, when you save this and then place it in InDesign, you will have that knockout and can work with that. But what happens in a different situation when you have this one here, but instead of having them all on one layer and be able to group them, you do not want that. What we want here is these should stay on their own layer. So grouping them is out of the question. Of course, we can set these fills to 0, but then, yeah, what then? So let's first do that. I'm going to select them all on different layers, and then let's go in here and set this to 0, like this. So now they overlap. I cannot group them. What would be possible, though, would be to put all of these layers into a parent layer. So that's what could be done. Let's do that. I'm going to undo that later. So we have this situation. Then we can target this and make the thing into a knockout group. So this is now layer-based. If it's possible that you put all these layers into a parent layer, then go with that. I'm going to undo that. So we have this situation here. This layer can be deleted. So all of them are main layers, and we want to have it that way. So then we can go into the menu here in the transparency panel and set page knockout group. And you see, we've got our nice knockout. This now needs to be saved and output. In order for this to get into the PDF, it needs to be saved in a very special way. So let's go to Save As, and then what we would need to do, save this as a PDF. I'm going to undo that later because we're going to do something different. And then this needs to be at least Acrobat 7. So only then this can be transferred into the PDF. I'm going to cancel that because we are going to do something different. We are just going to save this as an AI file. And again, I'm going to use save as and save that as an AI file so that we see the dialog box, because of course we want to keep that to the highest version. If you would use Illustrator 3 or something, that wouldn't work either. So keep that number high. What you can see here is create PDF compatible file, which means that a PDF gets embedded into the AI file. It's important because that's what InDesign uses. Let's get to the other thing. What we also need is we need to look at this isolate blending thing. I've got this file here prepared for it. And if we select all of these and set them to multiply, then you see they multiply with each other, but also with what's behind. If you do not want that and want them to only multiply with each other, then you can group them. Isolate the blending, and then you get what you have. But again, you need to group them for that. What happens when they have no background, as in here, and they are also on different layers, we select them all and go to the opacity and set this to multiply, then you see they multiply with each other. But if you now save that and place that into an InDesign file, then it would interact with whatever is behind. Let's save this. And then also we make another version. And in that version, I'm going to turn on page isolated blending. So, and let's save as and give that a new name and save it. Again, create PDF compatible file, of course. And then it's okay. So now let's take a look at InDesign. I have already put some rectangle into this file, and let's now place what we have. So we've got this and that and this one. And then we are going to place them all. Let's move this on top of here, and you see the nibs are all knocked out and we see the background. Of course, what's important in here, overprint preview is turned on, which looks nicer. Let's keep it that way. And then we have these two. Let's take a look at which is which. So here we have the one with the page isolated blending, and this one is not. So if we move this over here, then you see it interacts with that rectangle, and this one doesn't do that. So that is the difference and the importance of this setting. It allows you to keep your hierarchy in the file intact. No need to group this.